Say hello to the big, beautiful world. It is the Summer Morning Buzz Monday edition. I am your host, Kyle Pepitone, back in the land of the living after a quick week-long break. And I am joined here today with Cam Martin, who was filling in for our sportscaster today. But now I am offering you the position of co-host today. Cam, do you accept that?
Actually, I'll accept the position of co-host.
All right. Then in that case, why don't we get right into it? As we know, the Olympics ended just yesterday, Sunday, August 8th. So, Cam, what does our sportscast say?
Well, we have a lot of things that happened yesterday in the sports world. First off, yesterday, Florida State Seminoles legendary football coach Bobby Bowden passed away at the age of 91. He won 377 games at the collegiate level, the fourth most all-time. 304 of those are at Florida State. Coach Bowden will be missed in the world of college football. And Kyle, like you said, the Olympics are over. Yesterday, the gold medal game, Brittany Griner had 30 points in the women's gold medals. You know. The second most points scored in the women's Olympics basketball game. Only Lisa Leslie's 35 points or more ever. Speaking of Lisa Leslie, she was teammates with Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird back in Athens in 2004, right? That duo, the duo I just mentioned, they just won their fifth straight gold medal, most in Olympic basketball history. Also, Sue Bird just announced that she played her final basketball game and that she's retiring. With the Olympics, like we said before, it's over. And Team USA had the most golds for the third straight year, the third straight games, partially due to the fact that crazy 4x4 dream team on the women's side of two New Jersey legends, Sydney McLaughlin and Ting Mo, as well as Dahlia Muhammad and Allison Felix, dropping a blistering 316.8. The men's team of Michael Cherry, Michael Norman, Bryce Dedman, and Rye Benjamin ran a disgusting 255.7, capturing gold themselves. Now we're going to take it back home. In baseball, the Mets went to Citizens Bank Park with a lead in the NL East by 1.5 games this weekend. They lost not one, not two, but 3 games. I guess the Phillies bullpen, just got a leak. And, they retired Roy Halladay's number as well yesterday. The late, great Roy Halladay, one of the Phillies legend. And, the Mets lead went away as fast as you can say Omaha. Why is that the first thing I thought of? Oh, because this past weekend, the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremony took place. And the man who said it all the time, Peyton Manning, got inducted yesterday. 2 classes actually were inducted, the class of 2020 and the class of 2021 were inducted. Players such as Troy Polamalu, Charles Woodson, Isaac Bruce, Calvin Johnson, and Coach Bill Cowher. I would say the full list, but I doubt many of you guys listening know who most of those guys are anyway. And on this day in sports history, Jesse Owens won his 4th medal in the infamous 1936 Olympic Games in the 4x100 meter relay. The first ever game in the Louisiana Superdome was played in 1975. Wayne Gretzky, the great one, got traded to Los Angeles in 1988. And Usain Bolt won his gold medal in 2012, and Michael Phelps won his gold medal in 2016, respectively. That was a lot to happen on this day. But that's all for your sportscast.
Wow, that is a lot of sports stuff. And we're not even done because later we are going to be talking about the Olympics clothing ceremony. But right now we've got some other news to go into revolving everybody's favorite latest in the news, more COVID. So our number one story today comes from NJ.com that says masks should be worn indoors in all New Jersey counties, says the CDC, as the virus continues to rise. So, according to the CDC, all 21 of New Jersey's counties have, quote, high or substantial rates of coronavirus transmission. This means that masks are strongly encouraged for everyone, both vaccinated and unvaccinated, in indoor settings where there's not as much air circulation. Central and South Jersey have high transmission rates, while the counties in North Jersey have mostly substantial rates. The high rates are Burlington County, Cape May, Cumberland, Camber, Gloucester, Hunterdon, Monmouth, Ocean, and Salem. The rest suffer from the aforementioned substantial transmission rates. The transmission rates are determined by new cases per every 100,000 people and positive COVID tests over the course of a week. NJ reported 1,208 new cases and 6 deaths on Sunday as the Delta variant continues to spread among those who are those who are vaccinated and unvaccinated, as it threatens to become the dominant strand of COVID. So, I mean, I don't want to say anything, but according to this, it looks like we're going backwards. It is a shame too, because I've been doing the summer buzz at least on Monday every week for the whole summer, and it's I we had COVID news every week, pretty much every day, and it always looked like it was getting better and better. Oh, mask mandates are being lifted, but first outdoors, now indoors, and now everything looks like it's getting back to normal. But as we approach the fall and winter, the cold and flu season, it's we're going backwards. All counties in the state are suffering from some kind of bad transmission rate, and I don't know, what to make of that, especially since Montclair's going back in less than a month to in person.
See, I'm seeing all these counties, and I think at least like actually like 6 of them are in South Jersey. Like I'm from down here. I live in Gloucester County, so like I see Cumberland County, Salem County, Burlington County. I see all these counties that are like right there, and it's like, okay, yeah, I don't know why South Jersey's so bad, why there's high rates in South Jersey, but that's the way it is, I guess.
Yeah, and from what I got from the article, high is worse than substantial. So, I mean, we know substantial is not the best thing, but at least Northern Jersey, especially here in Montclair, it's not as bad as it is further south in the state.
All I gotta say is it's a good thing going back up north, because this is crazy down here.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like, why are there so many high rates? Why are there so many high rates? Like,
Yeah,
what's wrong with everybody? Just get vaccinated.
That too, but as the article mentioned, is vaccines can only do so much, especially against the Delta variant, and it's spreading between both groups of people. And the CDC isn't even singling out unvaccinated this time. They're like, yeah, Jersey should probably go back to full indoor mask for everyone.
That hurt. That hurt.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
I got
it's something.
now I gotta find my mask collection again. Oh gosh.
Yeah, but like it's bad, and like I don't like we saw earlier this summer that like for the first time since this started, our transmission rate was literally nothing. And now the article said, oh, it's gone up like 244% since last month. Or it was a ridiculously high percentage of increase. I'm sorry, not 244, 464% higher than last month.
It sounds about right. Sounds about right.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just one of those things that the Delta variant is, I guess it's just that powerful of a variant. So it's like, wow.
right, exactly. I mean, it's just like I don't even know how to react to something of this stature, because it's not like, okay, they steadily rose in the coming month. It's like, no, they jumped up almost 500%. And, now we got it. It's almost like we're back at square one.
Yeah. I mean, I remember I follow Governor Murphy. I check it every time he posts something about it. I just see the numbers like just steadily get increase and improve. So I'm like, that's kind of concerning. But like, I didn't think it was that. I think it was that bad. Sheesh.
Yeah. I mean, it's insane. And we have another member of WMSC who came here to join us today, Carly Campo. How are you? Thank you for coming in.
Good. How are you? Gosh, it sounds so professional. Like this is NPR. Like, hey, now we have another person coming in, Carly. Carly. I'm doing great. Thank you for asking, Kyle. It's so great to see you guys, even if it's just through a screen. I'm coming in live from my bedroom. I need to clean the entire.
Oh, you and me both. You and me both.
Yeah. But I don't know how much of that you got to hear, but like what are your thoughts on, like, New Jersey just not even slowly, just completely regressing to almost a like March standard of COVID at this point?
March 2020 at that.
Yeah, that yes, exactly.
Like encouraging people to stay at home.
Not okay. Yeah, maybe March wasn't a good.
Yeah, just catch me up to speed a little bit, because I know that you guys were talking about COVID transmissions.
Basically, every county in New Jersey has an either substantial or high transmission rate of COVID, and the CDC has encouraged both vaccinated and unvaccinated people to go back to mask in indoor settings.
I think that's very responsible because, of course, I'm used to wearing masks.
Very true.
I used to work at Joann Fabric, and on my last day, I bought a whole bunch of masks, and I am very on board with using them at all times because, of course, I'm vaccinated. I'm certain that you both are vaccinated.
Right.
The thing is, there are people out there who still aren't. Both my parents are teachers, and knowing that my dad works with young kids, he's got to keep them safe. He also coaches. He's got to keep the kids he coaches safe. And he also has to keep my family safe because in the end, wearing a mask is more than just putting a nice piece of cloth that has, like, I don't know, a mustache on it. If the pandemic happened in 2012, everything would have mustaches or bacon or whatever. You know, those weird trends of the day.
Very
Sounds about
true.
right. Sounds about right.
Yeah. I remember seeing something. It was like this woman on Shark Tank who had proposed this idea of like funny surgical masks back in 2009. And, was trying to fund that. She must be so angry right now. Poor thing. But either way, I think wearing masks is very important. And I think
Right.
encouraging people to wear them indoors is a given because, of course, you don't know who can't get vaxxed. Like,
Right. Those
I'm
who choose
for
not
that.
to, those who can't for medical reasons.
Right, exactly. Like, I understand why someone might not be able to get vaxxed because I have a bunch of allergies and I was a little uncertain to get vaxxed because the last thing I wanted to do was have to just be awkward, like, oh yeah, sorry guys, sorry, I that the EpiPen and everything, just
Yeah.
you know how it is. Like, I understand that, but at the same time, if you can, I think it would be a good idea to consider doing it. And plus,
Right.
a lot of places are requiring you to get vaxxed now. Like, I think it was like a Delta or American Airline requires all their employees to get vaxxed. They just know
Yeah, United Airlines. We're actually going to talk about that in a second, but you bring
Spoiler
up a
alert.
good point, and I think a big
Sorry.
problem is, oh, sorry, but
I'm the worst with spoilers. Like,
no, you're good. But I think a big problem is it's the unvaccinated are all grouped into one group. You have the people who don't want to be vaxxed mixed with those who physically can't be
right.
vaxxed. And I think that's where a problem arises because obviously the unvaccinated people aren't like, they're almost outcast by society. Not really. I'm blowing this way out of proportion, but they're looked down upon almost. And as we can see in a lot of establishments requiring vaccination or proof of vaccination, those, it's almost like people are looking at unvaccinated people as it's people who 100% don't want to be vaxxed, never will, yada, yada, yada. But I think a lot of people forget those who can't be vaxxed. And I forget where I saw this. I think it was a concert or a tour somebody was planning. And they said either vaccines required or a negative COVID test. And then they went on to explain that we understand not everybody physically can, they use the word can, get the vaccine. And that is what the COVID test is for. So I think some people are still like thinking about like not thinking about doing it, but like separating vaccinated into can't and won't. And then, like making accommodations for those who it's out of their control almost.
Of course. It just, the one thing that bugs me is like, we've required vaccinations for everything. Like, if you want to dorm here at Montclair State, you got to have a up-to-date vaccination record. Like,
Yes.
I had to get the meningitis B vax when I was a freshman. I'm a junior now, believe it or not. I look like I'm 5, but like, it's stuff like we're used to vaccines after all. Polio used to be a problem back in the 1940s, and then the Salk vaccine revolutionized healthcare and basically no polio cases. I just think it's common sense, and it's just empathy. If you can, by all means, go get it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think, and I don't actually know what the reasoning behind some people's refusal to get it is, but I think, and I could be wrong on this one, but I'm pretty sure those other vaccines that were required, like you said, to like even dorm here at Montclair, were FDA approved. And to my knowledge, these the COVID vaccines, Johnson Johnson, Pfizer, and Moderna, are all still under emergency use. They haven't been fully approved by the FDA yet. But they are looking to do that soon. I remember in this next story that we're talking about United Airlines requiring the vaccine for their U.S. employees. One of the things mentioned in the letter they sent out to the employees was either 5 weeks before it's approved completely or 5 weeks after September 20th. And so essentially, the CEO and president, Scott Kirby and Brett Hart, respectively, of United Airlines, sent out a letter to all the U.S. employees saying, all right, you got to get your vaccine before this date. I think the latest was October 25th. But if the FDA approves the vaccines completely, then could be a little bit earlier. But they basically sent out a letter saying you can get a vaccine, upload the proof here, and those who do it before the deadline receive an extra day of pay, which I think, is pretty responsible considering airlines haven't shut down completely because of essential travel. So, they've been on the front lines, not as much as medical workers, obviously, but like a very close second or third, I would say.
That is true. Like, plus we have to think, like, all now people think it's okay to go take a plane. Like, I remember seeing something like shared with me about like a grandma going to Disney and like being concerned that her grandkids would get COVID because they're too young to get vaxxed, and like
Right.
seeing people being like, oh yeah, sorry about that, just go anyway. Like, no, people that are traveling like are expected to follow rules and code of conduct in a sense, and like it's basic, etiquette stuff like putting on a mask.
Right.
I think because everyone wants to travel now, everyone should be a little bit more, I don't know the word, conscientious.
Cautious
Cautious.
or conscientious.
Cautious,
Yeah.
Conscience. Probably conscience. Probably conscience might be a
Yeah,
little bit
no, I
right.
don't have a dictionary right here. I need to like pull up a dictionary or something. I gotta improve my linguistics. You know what I mean? Sound smart.
No, but I know
But
what you mean. I know what you mean about the whole idea that the people have to start respecting the rules of air travel, because it's like we learned this at a young age. Whatever you do, you got to show respect to wherever you are. You got to show respect to the owner of the place.
Right.
It doesn't matter like what your agenda is. They still have the right. They have the right to remove you from their premises if you don't respect the rules. And the airline, shoot, that's like that's basically that one, that's like next level removal. So
Right. Yeah.
you can see jail time just for just disrespecting. Some things that you can do is just like no, there's way out the question. So like for people, they have to start respecting the rules of air travel, respecting the rules of just public safety. And at the end of the day, if they want to go somewhere, they gotta just respect each other.
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. And I went away recently, actually. I flew down to Florida, and airport was in the airport and on the plane, masked completely whole time.
Well, because Florida is kind of crazy too. So like,
Yeah, I mean, Florida itself wasn't, like they were very relaxed about the mask and stuff. The only like big news when we went down there was like the day we got there, Disney said, yeah, back to mask in the park, or mask are required in the park. But Universal was still a bit free about that. They were optional. But yeah, just the entire airport, it was mask all the time. And on the plane from takeoff to landing, unless you were eating or drinking, mask on, which honestly, I didn't have a problem with. It wasn't that bad, but I can imagine for something like a 6-hour flight or upwards, that might start becoming just uncomfortable a little bit.
That
for
is
me, yeah, for me personally, this is me. Whatever the things I say does not reflect the station. Um, I personally think that wearing a mask, yeah, it's helpful and all, but like for X amount of time, it's not it's not ideal for me personally, and that's because I feel as though that yeah we all been together for long enough, and I get that everything's covered up, but like you know sometimes it gets hard to breathe after a little while
Right. Yeah.
because you're wearing it for X amount of time. Like an hour at most, that's cool with me. But like if I gotta wear it for 2-3 hours, yeah, it's
Yeah, 2-3 hours straight. Like
mm-mm.
the flight to Florida was, I don't know, a little over 2 hours, and like 2 hours straight might have been getting irritating, but luckily, they pass around the food and the drinks, which gives not an excuse, but a reason to take it off, because obviously you can't eat with a mask covering your mouth. But with like that being said, I'm not really, because if we're going back to indoor mask, like we mentioned in our previous story, with New Jersey, I'm really not looking forward sitting to my studio classes with a mask on the whole time, because I almost guarantee, I don't know the exact rules Montclair has now with mask. I really don't. I haven't really kept up. I probably should have. But if they do go back to mask, that's like my classes before COVID were upwards of like 3.5 hours. And to do a mask like that all day is, I'm not accustomed to it yet. I'm only used to it for like 30 minutes to an hour at a time.
Well, and for COVID information for obviously for the campus, you should send in proof of vaccination as of like August 9th, 2021, according
So
to
today.
according to today, on the Montclair website, 81% of full-time Montclair state employees have submitted proof of vaccination, and it looks like we are going to be still going back on campus. However, I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that face coverings, well, as long as according to this thing from July 2021,
Right.
so this is obviously subject to change. You don't need to, so to speak, but like you can be okay. Students and employees who have provided proof of vaccination must wear a mask indoors whenever it is not possible to keep 6 feet.
Oh, okay.
And visitors must wear masks at all times.
Like dorm visitors or visitors to the campus period?
Visitors in general. And additionally, this is just for summer 2021. Again, they haven't released the guidance yet, but classrooms, campus healthcare facilities, university buses, restrooms, elevators, crowded indoor spaces, you got to wear a mask.
Yeah. That's what I remember hearing last. Like the latest I remember is you're good with no mask outdoors as long as you can keep 6 feet apart from somebody. And then the indoor rules are roughly the same, except for like, like you said, crowded places. But you said that was summer, so it is subject to change. And, I'm not one to tell Montclair how to run the school, but, considering move-in starts in like 2 weeks, they might want to put that out soon.
But at the same time, it took them forever to send our bills. As of right now, they sent out our bills late, very late in July. Usually it would be sent way before then.
Yeah. This is my birthday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is the 14th.
That is a bizarre birthday gift. Yeah.
Happy birthday! Here's your bill.
Happy birthday! Here's $15,000.
I
mean, you're giving us $15,000. Yeah. It's not really a gift as much as it is.
But I think Montclair can be excused a little bit. They are like we know the president, our old president, Suzanne Cole, retired, and we have a new one now. So that switch, switch probably took a lot of time. Oh, really? Last week?
Yeah, he started his term like on August 2nd.
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. Yeah, but I'm sure that took up a lot of time. That transition period probably, there was a lot of work involved there. And, there's only so many people who can like work together to like make sure everything is good in the 3-month span between the end of the spring semester and the start of the fall.
That is also true.
Yeah.
the one thing I'm concerned about, obviously, is because, like you mentioned before, like studio classes, it's going to definitely be a different, I guess, I don't know how you, like, different beast in a sense when it comes to like in-person classes that require hands-on stuff. Like, I'm a journalism major. I'm not taking any studio classes, I think, because I'm trying to organize myself in a way so that way if I have an internship, I can just
Right.
get off the train and like run all the way to the other side of campus. But people who have like lab classes or anything that requires handling or checking out equipment, that's going to be a very different thing, because for those who aren't aware, the standards that our broadcast and media operations center, where we can rent out equipment, they basically increased fines and potential to get your equipment, like, oh, I don't know what it is, your right to get equipment like could be revoked really easily if you don't follow protocol.
Wow.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's stuff like if you don't come in on that like specific time, you could possibly get a point, which if you get 3 points, I believe you no longer have the right to check out equipment.
Oh, wow.
It's stuff
Wow.
where like deadlines are going to be tighter, sanitization is still going to be in effect. It's just going to be little things that are now the new normal, and the sooner we accept that, the better.
Yeah. I do wonder, like, how much of this stuff we are going to keep, because, you know, like the flu pandemic was once a thing, and we are cautious about the flu, especially in the spring and winter months. But I don't know, like, what precautions they took then that have stuck till now.
I don't
Like,
remember either.
I do wonder, how much are we going to be sanitizing between, for example, amusement park rides? How are we going to forever be sanitizing between every ride, or is that going to eventually die out? Because I've seen it in some
I hope it,
places, but not all the time. Well, Carly?
I hope that like sanitization just becomes like a frequent thing, even after COVID, because like if you think about it, it's like chances are you're going to an amusement park when it's like gross and sticky out, and like you're sitting on a chair that like hundreds of people have sat in within 1 hour. Like I if that were me, I'd like someone to just, you know, just put some Febreze or like
Right.
some
Yeah.
Lysol on that before I sit down. That'd be pretty cool.
I mean, I think the COVID pandemic has, and I'll say this before we move on, but I think the COVID pandemic has got a lot of people thinking, like, how dirty some things really are.
Oh yeah. Oh, 1,000%.
Oh
Because
boy.
I can still recall. Now I was a freshman. My freshman year, I was in Bone Hall, and I just remember
Oh
seeing.
my god, I was in Bone too. I know what you're
Oh, that's
talking
it.
about.
Yeah, there's a little incident with a human's.
Oh yes, I know what
Okay.
you're talking about.
Yep, that's
Pretty
all.
much,
Yeah,
That's all we
all
have
got
to say.
yeah,
yeah,
we got
so
charged 50 cents. The culprit is still at large, I believe.
yeah, oh yeah.
So,
So like just that was before COVID, by the way. So just that's the people that are just dirty like that. And there's still people out there that still don't wash their hands. Like I was at a restaurant the other day, actually Red Robin. I saw someone walk in,
Robin,
use
dumb.
use the bathroom and walk right out, and I was like, oh, that's COVID's still out there, so that's gross.
Right. Yeah.
Wash
Yeah.
your hands. Like ugh, ugh. And like celebrities going out and like saying, "Oh yeah, I don't bathe." Like
Ugh.
like what Ashton Kutcher I think said, "Oh
Oh,
yeah, no, gross. Take a
okay.
shower."
Yeah. No, that's a little weird.
A little too much.
Mm.
Shall I move on? Shall I move on?
Yeah,
Move
let's
on.
let's go to a more happier story about things opening up again. As Canada begins allowing vaccinated Americans into the country again, according to AP News. So recently, Americans and Canadian residents who are vaccinated and test negative for COVID are allowed to cross the border into Canada. However, the same rules don't apply the other way, as although Canada is lifting some of the travel restrictions, the United States is keeping them in place for a little while longer. So people who are vaccinated and test negative for COVID, like I said, are able to cross from America to Canada. However, from Canada to America and subsequently Mexico to America, America says they're going to keep the borders closed for non-essential travel just a little bit longer, at least until August 21st. but the Biden administration is working on, allowing the same thing. Vaccinated people can come into our country as well as leave it. Spokeswoman, Rebecca Purdy said the Canadian Border Services Agency, quote, will not compromise the health and safety of Canadians for the sake of border wait times, end quote. So they just warned that when crossing the border, it might take a little longer because they're going to do a lot of thorough checks on everybody who comes in. But it's very good news. And, some of the Canadian locals are very excited to open their borders back up to America, as John Villanova, owner of Primo's Mexican Grill in White Rock, British Columbia, right outside of the border, says, quote, let's get this thing going. A lot of our customers are from the United States, and we're literally minutes across the border. We welcome our Americans, and we depend on their foot traffic, end quote. So, that's something good to end all this COVID news on, at least. And we'll talk more after our break about other stories, but things are happening again. And although Jersey is unfortunately going back to encouraged mask, which I'm still iffy about the word encouraged.
In my opinion, and this might not reflect yours or any of the stations,
Right.
Masks should have still been, encouraged, because even if you are vaxxed, you still should keep others safe. Again, my opinion, not that of the station, the school, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly. But, and I don't know the rules for Canada with masks. So I'm very curious to see if, regardless of vaccination or not, those coming in are still required to wear a mask.
Well, I assume yes.
Yeah, probably.
Should wear a mask because it's common. It's so common at this point. Like when I'm watching movies from I don't know, 2010, I'm like, where's their mask? If I'm watching a movie from I don't know, the 20s, I'm like, wow, this guy's just not wearing his mask. It's kind of inconsiderate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a whole different way of life. And as we come closer to almost 2 years, we still got 6 months before, or 6-ish months before 2022, and then 3 months after that before the 2-year anniversary or the 2-year happening of COVID. But a lot of people's outlook has changed. Like everybody looks at things so much differently now, and it's kind of weird to be a part of that societal shift in thinking.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely weird because now, it's just little things, kids, this might be their first time going to an in-person school because preschoolers are used to, being at home and watching Coco Melon or whatever kids watch.
Oh no.
I don't know a thing about Coco Melon. All I know is that every time I go on Netflix, it's usually in the top 10.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
So I don't know what stands are out there blasting Coco Melon every day, but good on you, I guess.
Binge watching Coco Melon.
Binge watching Coco Melon, just fan cams on Twitter or something. I don't know. But what I mean is it's stuff wherein kids are used to seeing masks, and this could be their first time in a world where it's people are expected to still wear masks. It's stuff kids will say the darndest things. Kids will notice if someone's not wearing a mask or following protocol and be very loud and obnoxious about it in a way that is endearing and won't get someone punched in the face. It's stuff because obviously if I were to come up to you and be like, hey, where's your mask? Hey, gabagool, I'm Italian for some reason. You're going to be annoyed. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, she's being a Karen. But if it's a little kid being like, hey, sir, where's your mask? You might just be a little embarrassed and awkward. Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry. Got to be a good influence on the kids.
Yeah, that is true.
I feel that.
But yeah, it's weird. And I just thought of this question. Now that I mentioned that the U.S. isn't opening its borders to Canada just yet. If I, to say, were to go on a non-essential trip to Canada and, am vaccinated, test negative for COVID, fill out all the stuff on the app that they want you to, would I be able to get back into the country or no?
That's a wonderful, I would say yes, because you are a U.S. citizen at the end of the day.
But if it's maybe I would have to come back and quarantine. I think that would probably be the thing. But like
expected.
Like the article said, it's not just Americans who can go into Canada now if they're vaccinated. It's permanent Canadian residents as well that the borders have been open to. So it makes me think that the borders have been closed to even people who live, their day-to-day life in Canada who got, caught on the wrong side of the border when the whole thing hit. And, I wonder if Americans traveling leisurely into Canada for maybe a day trip or something, if they're going to have any issues trying to come back, at least for now.
That is true, but who goes on a day trip to Canada?
That's what I was about to ask. Like,
you just like go across the street for some poutine and like come back with like American money? Like how?
Well, I guess for people who live closer to the border, it might make a little more sense. Here in Jersey, you probably wouldn't take a day trip to Canada. The drive alone would be ridiculous.
That's a day. The drive is a day itself.
Yeah. But like somebody in Niagara Falls or like New York, where it's kind of close to bordering, you could probably, cross over leisurely.
Or, out there.
Yeah.
If you live in Niagara Falls, why are you going anywhere else? You are literally right next to one of the wonders of the world. Like
that is true.
Maybe change the scenery. It's not.
See the other side of Niagara Falls.
Exactly.
You have to just turn like slightly. Like you don't even have to do like a 90-degree turn. You could just turn a little bit, and boom, more scenery for you to look at. Stay in the area. You got a nice. You have a literal waterfall that millions of people go to.
But okay. Listen, no. Let me explain. Right? You might get sick of the waterfall for some reason. Seeing that you might get sick. You might get sick of seeing the same thing every single day. So you want to go. You want to explore a little bit. So you want to be like, oh, hey Canada, how you doing? Oh, hello, fellow American. Come on in. Like, you never know. So
come on in. Just like, there's a door in the middle of it. Like, hey, I see you. Come on in. My dog is right by my door thinking that's an invitation. No, Rico.
I was thinking, I saw it more as like they're chilling out in Niagara Falls like it's a pool. Come in, the water's fine.
Exactly. Just
like, but our general, our station manager, Annabella, has also said that she's been to the Canadian side and it's significantly better. So
exactly. So like,
maybe, but like back to the border stuff, like we saw the same thing happen with Australia. They were very strict on their own citizens when they never, what they call, they didn't let people in who lived there for a long time. And I think to an extent, it might be still going on. So it's not really that absurd to ask about if people can come back in to the country if they leave it for a non-essential trip. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. But with that being said, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to discuss the closing of the Olympics. We talked a little bit about some of the results earlier today. Thank you, Cam, for that. But when we come back, we're going to be talking about the closing ceremony and how Tokyo as a whole accommodated this quite different ceremony of the Olympics. Stay tuned.
Hey, you're listening to 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, where music stays cool. Cooler than a dog on a skateboard. Okay, I take that back, but we're still pretty cool.
And welcome back to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair, the Summer Morning Buzz, the Monday edition. We just finished talking about COVID and vaccinations and, what that might hold for the near future, especially to us as Montclair students. However, we're going to transfer to a much grander scale right now and talk about the Olympics. As Cam mentioned earlier today, the Olympics ended this Sunday, August 8th, and it's been a bit of a different ride since then. As many COVID was a thing, still has been a thing. canceled the Olympics in 2020. They had to reschedule them to this year. And among that, Tokyo did not let many in-person audience members attend. So when it comes to the closing ceremony, where all the athletes kind of like are together and, celebrating, it's a little weird when none of the athletes are actually there, as most of them were sent home roughly within a 48-hour period of them competing. Instead, organizers offered music, juggling, and dancing, activities meant to simulate the experience of being in a Tokyo park, an activity that was also closed during the duration of the Olympics. International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach said, quote, "In these difficult times, you gave the world the most precious of gifts, hope. For the first time since the pandemic began, the entire world came together. Sport returned to center stage. Billions of people around the globe were united by emotions, sharing moments of joy and inspiration." And former U.S. Olympic sprint champion Michael Johnson also chimed in, saying, quote, "The games, even though it was a struggle getting it to start and getting it going, I think ultimately it was a relief that a lot of people needed," end quote. And despite a lot of the criticism of the hosting country, Japan, they were able to pull off the Olympics this year by enforcing some stricter rules, those being such as winners winning mask while standing on the podium, and also having to drape the medals around their own necks rather than having it done by somebody else. But I mean, I think all things considered, Tokyo really did the best they can, and Japan as a whole did the best they can, trying to, hold the Olympics in less than ideal conditions, not to mention with almost a year delay.
I definitely have to agree because, like, even though there's like a huge like anti-Olympic sentiment in Japan, like 80% of people did not want the Olympics to
Oh,
happen.
really?
Yeah, like there was like a protest held outside during the opening ceremony. Like right now, Tokyo is having their biggest COVID surge yet. And it's stuff like, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but at the same time, for some people, it might not have been the relief that they were looking for. Sure, there are plenty, it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong. I love the Olympics mainly because when I was a kid, I used to like research the host countries obsessively. But at the same time, it's not always a fun time for people if you're in the host city.
Yeah, I've heard from, like, I've never been in a host city of the Olympics, either intentionally or just, wrong place, wrong time. But I hear like it gets packed, it gets rowdy, it gets crazy.
Exactly. Especially during like, the pandemic. It's a little concerning because of course, like right now, like Tokyo, not Tokyo, but Japan, the country, before the Olympics had like a travel ban, meaning like no one could
Right.
enter the country for non-essential reasons. Like I get that this is a international goodwill kind of cooperation thing, but at the same time, not everyone is able to go to Tokyo at all. Like
Right.
I understand like the measures made for COVID, but at the same time, it's looking very grim over there when it comes to vaccinations.
Right. And like another thing is, I don't think they require, I remember reading this like during the start of it, but like I forget if they didn't require it or whatever, but like vaccines weren't like essential for people coming into the country, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. Like they didn't put as much emphasis on the COVID vaccine as we are here, per se, or in other countries too. So I think that might have, if what I'm saying is correct, that might have attributed to like, the anti-Olympics like rallies you're talking about.
Plus, like, you have to think, they're building new stadiums on areas that might be where homeless people live,
Right.
or where people typically, like, bring just like community centers before that. I know it's a lot of not in my backyard kind of sentiment, but at the same time, you have to consider the financial cost it could have on a host country. Sure, it
Right.
brings in tourism and like obviously it brings in a lot of press, but it's happening in Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world.
Right.
It's like saying, "Oh yeah, New York needs press." Well, look at Times Square. like
What is
24
this New York place you speak of? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, I've never heard of it either, but all I know is that there's a giant M&M store.
There is.
There
M&M
is.
store is awesome though. So like,
Yeah, there's a giant rotating disco M&M there that my friend and I just were standing in front of. But either way, I'm
but I know what
glad
you're
the
saying.
Olympics are over. I'm glad that Simone Biles still was able to perform, and I hope that she's doing better. Same with Naomi Osaka. There's some things that like kind of bothered me, like how Sha'Carri Robinson, she got removed from the Olympics because she had been drug tested and
Right.
was positive for marijuana. But at the same time, like not even a week later, Megan Rapinoe, who I'm going to be honest, she's one of my heroes. She was advertising CBD products, which come from the same plant,
Right.
and claims that she was using them. So it's just like this double standard, and like I don't know. The Olympics highlight a lot of inequities, especially like with like players and
Right,
sports, so to speak.
Cam, what
I
do you?
mean,
Any thoughts?
no, I no, but no, all Carly said, it's true and all. But for me, I honestly think that these Olympics, these probably were the most inspiring Olympics out there because
Right?
you see all these different things, not only just the pandemic, but things about mental health, like
Right.
Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka coming out and saying that they got to take a break, focus on their mental health. It's like one of those things that seeing that kind of inspired me to come out and say my mental health state. The past year I was battling depression since my mom passed, and like I felt as though
Sorry.
I felt as though I didn't feel comfortable enough to speak on it. But I see these athletes on the larger scale, they're able to just express themselves and just explain themselves. So it kind of gave me a little bit of motivation to be able to stand out and speak up about it. And on top of that, just seeing all these performances, like, see, I'm a track guy. I run track and field at Montclair State, and seeing all these track performances, all these world records that are broken, like seeing the 400-meter hurdles, my event, for example, seeing 2 world records broken in the finals, that was just absurd.
Wow. Yeah.
The 4x4, an event I'm probably gonna have to run this year. Seeing a sub 3 4 listen, a sub 3 4x4, it's crazy, but seeing that is just awe inspiring. The women's side running a 3:16, absolutely insane. That's fast. And let's go back to the sub 4 to really put that in perspective. Those guys had to run 44s at least just to even get an opportunity to run that. And running a 400 in 44 seconds, that's unheard of. But like that right there, the Olympics as a whole it was just so inspiring for me to watch. So I really appreciated that. Also, Team USA basketball, they dealt with adversity, losing their the first 2 games or first 3 games, facing that adversity, then coming back to win the gold medal. That was it was just awesome to see. I enjoyed the Olympics as just a pure athlete, pure fan.
Yeah. I got to see, like, when I was away, like in Orlando, they have like apparently they did a whole thing where they brought down a lot of no, that's not the right word. Like the families of people who were competing were able to go down to like Universal Orlando and watch it there, which was pretty cool because they have the whole NBC thing, the whole NBC cafe in Universal, or at least in the surrounding area. And so I got to see it like in bits and pieces while I was down there. And, it was very cool to watch. Like you were saying, like all these, not just in track, but like in all the sports, like these are the best of the best people. And they're doing these things in these times that almost feel like superhuman.
Yeah.
Like I saw the rock climbing. I forget who was competing, but I saw rock climbing, and they were just climbing. They were throwing themselves up and catching the rocks. It was insane.
That is insane. Just it's awesome to see like all these new events. Like one of my favorite things was seeing this little girl winning a gold medal. Like she's 14 years old and won one of the first gold medals for skateboarding.
Yeah.
It just became an Olympic sport. Like it's a year where surfing, skateboarding, karate were Olympic sports. Like
Wow.
it doesn't get cooler than that. It's like an 80s, like it's like a little 80s game. All you got to do is
Also,
throw in like a guy with sunglasses and a backwards hat saying radical, and we'd be good.
also with that, I just started watching baseball this year and seeing baseball as an Olympic sport. It was kind of cool. Team USA, they got silver, but it was just seeing that overall. It was kind of awesome to see the baseball implemented as well as softball. Now the softball field was the same as the baseball field, so I guess they didn't really have time for the dimensions to get right, but it was still pretty awesome to see.
Right. Yeah. And I just to like fill everybody in for those who don't know, America walked away with 113 medals, 39 gold, 41 silver, and 33 bronze, which, pretty good, I think. I'm not Mr. Sports person, but I'm pretty sure that's a pretty high number.
We had the most gold medals, so yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And if I'm reading this Google thing correct, I just looked it up, and Google, if this is in the correct order, apparently we were number one with 113, followed closely by China at 88. So
closely, huh?
pretty significant gap, I think. That's like
Yeah,
almost 40, I think. My mental math isn't the best.
it's not even 30.
Not even 30? Okay.
Not even
wow.
30.
I'm really bad at math then. 113 minus 88. It's 25. I wasn't even close.
But yeah, like you said, it's seeing that, and I think that Team USA we could have had more gold medals. But that's the thing about these Olympics. You got to. It's all about. That's the thing about sports. Actually, it's all about. It's not about what happens. The best person doesn't win. The best person that day wins all the time. So that's one of those things about sports that you just got to really appreciate.
Right. Definitely. And like, oh yeah, go ahead, Carly. Sorry.
I was saying that is true. It's definitely something that we gotta appreciate with sports. Like, just I can't believe how many medals did we win? 39 or 30?
39 gold, 113 total.
Oh my god. Like, one other thing I'd like to note is the Philippines won their first ever gold medal in this Olympics with weightlifting. It's awesome seeing countries get gold,
Yeah, definitely.
Especially ours. I'm biased.
And I forget, I remember seeing something, I forget what country it is, but this country won their first ever track and field medal just in general. I think it was a bronze medal, but I forget what country it was, but it was in the one of the field events. But just seeing that is like, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't imagine how ecstatic like the countries you just mentioned were. Like the people competing for their countries to win the first medal for their country as a whole. Think about that. You are representing an entire mass of land, and you accomplish something that nobody else has before. That's got to be just the most insane, ecstatic feeling that a person can experience, because you're representing so many people and you succeeded for the first time in that area's history to do something on this grand of a level. And I think the only thing that brings it down was the fact that like the stands are almost empty for every sport.
That is true. But for some sports, like I definitely can understand why, because there's a lot of pressure, especially, when you're trying to run, like you hear someone like yelling, like, it's a lot of pressure. And like, I understand why, because obviously COVID, but I also understand, some people might not want to be on board with that.
Right. Yeah. And like, I've never competed at a professional scale in any sport. I've played like a season of basketball when I was in like 5th grade. So I don't know what it's like having like, I don't know, thousands to millions of people watching, or at least in person. But I could imagine performing in front of no one might be a little awkward.
Yeah. It's like practice. I love having the fans, and I interact every time we have a game. I always love to interact with the fans. Yeah. And I just feel as though it just makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely. But as we wrap up, as we reach the end of our show, I think I want to give kudos to Japan and Tokyo. I think they did the best they could with the hand they were dealt.
Exactly.
Phenomenal Olympics. They ran a phenomenal Olympics.
Yeah. But with that being said, we have reached the end of our show. This has been the Monday edition of the Morning Buzz. We will be back tomorrow with new people and new stories. I have been your host, Kyle Pepitone, joined with me with Cam Martin and Carly Campbell. And I want to thank you both for coming in today. I know it's been, a little bit hectic. Carly, thank you for saving the day. But
I was in the middle of cleaning my fish tank. It was.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No need to apologize.
But
I'll
you, but you are listening to 90.3 WMSC Upper Montclair. Have a great rest of the day.